घर के हर कोने को आओ प्रेम से बनाएं, दीवारों पर चित्र, रसोई में मर्तबान लगाएं, बच्चों के कमरे को और रंगीन बनाएं और पेड़ पौधे बगीचे में रुचि से लगाएं।
टेक्नोलॉजी ऑफ होम भारत में निर्माण की बेहतरी के लिए शैक्षणिक जगत के साथ साथ उद्योग के प्रतिष्ठित दिग्गजों द्वारा ज्ञान साझा करने का एक स्वतंत्र मंच है। ये जेके सीमेंट और एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इंडस्ट्री इंडिया की एक संयुक्त पहल है। इस पहल में एक आम आदमी की मदद करने के लिए ये सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि वो एक मजबूत सुंदर घर बनाने के लिए उपयोग की जाने वाली सामग्रियों की उपयोगिता और प्रक्रियाओं से पूरी तरह अवगत हो, जिससे उसके घर के निर्माण के लिए धन का उपयोग ठीक से किया जा सके। तो आइए हम सुनते हैं प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर PSN राव से स्पेस डिजाइन के बारे में।
For any individual, the major investment, the single major investment that a person makes in his entire lifetime is building a house. And how do you want your house to be like? You and your family members. So all of you have to sit together, you have to decide. When you have these discussions, then you can actually prepare a brief. You yourself may not really know how to have these things done. Therefore, you need the advice of an architect. Maybe an architect who is an experienced professional, he would actually tell you that, look, this is fine, but I can suggest something much better than this. You think something in your mind, but when you start conversing, when you start discussing, then things will fall in place, and then over a series of discussions, then things will become more clear. When you are appointing the architect, what are the things that the architect is going to deliver, and what is the fees that you are going to pay him, at what stages you are going to make the payments. If these are discussed well in advance and agreed, then there should not be no problem. The architect and the family members, all of them need to have a couple of meetings, and the architect has to understand, and all the family members should also be able to express themselves. So this is the first step. Right on day one, you should say that this is my budget, and then the architect will ensure that everything falls within that budget. So specifications are important. Space is also very important. You have to make certain compromises, either in terms of space or in terms of specifications. So you can say that, okay, I will sacrifice Italian marble, maybe I'll go for a cheaper flooring material. I can save some money there, but then I want the space. I don't want to reduce the size. Or I want to cut down on something else, or I will do something else at a later date when I get the additional funds. But then later on I can't get more space in my room. So therefore I'd rather first go in for a larger room and then spend on the other things at a later date. But then of course there are externalities. Like you don't know when the budget is going to come, when the price of cement or steel is going to increase. There are these things, because you plan for a project for a particular duration. But then that, for some reason, if it goes on to 2 years, 3 years, then the next year's budget, excise duty and customs and several things will change, obviously. So with those things changing, the prices of cement and steel can increase. Contingencies in every project, you have to plan for contingencies. You have to plan for some overheads. You have to plan for the unforeseen also. If you have 50 lakhs in your bank, don't tell the architect that I want a house in 50 lakhs, because there is always an unforeseen element. Prices may increase. It's beyond the hands of many of us. So therefore tell him my budget is around 40 or maybe 45, because there is always that something extra for which you need to keep some amount of money in the bank. Step 2 will be the architect will develop a concept, and in that concept maybe he can do a walkthrough, maybe he'll prepare a first concept plan, an elevation. Sections are not required at this stage, but just a plan and an elevation and maybe a 3D view, so that the family is able to understand and then say that yes, this is something. Once that is done, then you move to the third step, wherein you look at the specifications and other things, because without that you can't really come down to the budget. If you're putting Italian marble or if you're putting Kadapa stone, there could be a huge variation in the budget. So once those are done, then you move to step 4, where you go for the approvals. The drawings have to be put up to the municipal corporation or to the local body, whoever is the concerned agency, and you have to get a approval for the permission to construct. So once that is done, then you can't make changes. Therefore, before you reach that stage, it is important that things are finalized, and once that is done, then you need to appoint a contractor. There could be different kinds of contracts. You could give a turnkey contract to the architect itself. Then the next process is, of course, looking for an auspicious date. You have to do the Bhumi Puja, materials have to come in, construction has to start, commencement certificate has to be taken and start the work, and then supervision is extremely important, because there can be so many things on the drawings, on the specifications, in your contract, but once something is put, then you can't again start breaking it. So therefore, extremely important is supervision, ensure quality of the work is done, and while doing the construction, invariably there will be some small minor tweaking that happens. Small changes are always possible. Major structural changes may not be possible, but small changes, please do it. And then while doing it, don't forget to put the cables inside the concrete or whatever, because there are quite often things are forgotten. So it's very important that all these nitty-gritties are taken into account, and once all this is done, then the final finishings and fittings, there again there is a lot of leeway. I mean, what kind of electrical fittings that you want, you don't have to decide maybe right on the first day. So the choice of the chandelier or whatever, that can happen much later, but all you know that yes, I need to have a chandelier in my drawing room, so you need to provide that hook, that electrical point connection and all that stuff, otherwise you can't do it at a later date. So once you do all this, then again you need to go to the local body for getting a completion certificate. It is only then completion certificate, occupancy certificate, only then you can get in. Before that, you need to get the temporary water connection, then the permanent water connection, the permanent electricity connection. So there's a lot of paperwork that also has to be done. So there are a series of these steps involved, and your architect is the best person who can guide you through all these processes, so that your entire experience is a happy experience.
प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर PSN राव, निदेशक, स्कूल ऑफ प्लानिंग एंड आर्किटेक्चर, नई दिल्ली, भारत में अचल संपत्ति, आवास और शहरी विकास क्षेत्र में कार्यरत एक प्रतिष्ठित व्यक्तित्व हैं, जो 3 दशकों से अधिक समय से एक शिक्षाविद, सलाहकार, नीति अधिवक्ता और उद्योग सलाहकार के रूप में सक्रिय भूमिका निभा रहे हैं। आप एक प्रशिक्षित आर्किटेक्ट, सिविल इंजीनियर और टाउन प्लानर हैं। टेक्नोलॉजी ऑफ होम, सुदृढ़ सुंदर निर्माण।